123.4 million people watched Super Bowl 58, the most watched program in American television history. And the dynasty is now officially on the table. 3 titles in 5 years. A big reason for it, of course, Andy Reid, coaching KC to 11 consecutive winning seasons, 3 championships. He's the 5th coach to win 3 Lombardi trophies. And then, of course, his quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has won 3 out of the last 5. Only Brady, Aikman, and Bradshaw have done that in the Super Bowl era, but even those greats weren't able to win 3 in a row, and that is something Patrick Mahomes already has his eye on.
It's legendary. I mean, just to be able to, no one's ever done it, and we knew it's legendary to win back-to-back. I think 8 other teams have done it. I mean, all you can do is come back next year with a fresh mindset, knowing it's going to be even harder, and we got to continue to play our best football. We'll celebrate these next few weeks, and then we'll get right back at it.
Last night on the podium, you said Kansas City should never be an underdog. Chiefs should never be an underdog. Right now, already, day after the Super Bowl, they are not the favorites for next year. What are you telling people to bet on for the Chiefs for next year?
I never feel like we're underdogs. I believe we can win any game that we play in, but we have to continue to prove that every single year.
Boy, you just love everything about him. The question is right. San Francisco on ESPN Bet is the consensus favorite for next year. The Chiefs are right behind them at 7-1. No team in NFL history, again, has won the Super Bowl 3 straight years. Only one team in the last 50 years has won the Super Bowl after losing it the previous year. That was the Patriots in 2018. So the Niners and the Chiefs up there at the top of these odds. But history is stacked up against both of them. Dan, you were just back from Vegas where you were there, and you were telling us in our conversation this morning, because three-peat is a magical word in sports history. And you were telling us that this is something that the Chiefs are not only not shying away from, but you think something that will be the rallying cry.
Yeah, because this is how they operate. I mean, like they were talking about how what they overcame this year. We didn't hear a lot of nobody thought we could do it. We heard a lot of we had a tough time. Like there were difficult things. So they have an appreciation, I think, for what they're doing. It's not a matter of they think it's owed to them. They really felt like the way that game went, the 49ers could have easily won it. And I think they have an appreciation for that. So I think that, to me, listening to Mahomes talk about how I'm going to celebrate and then we're going to get back to work, like he was talking about Sunday night, Rashee Rice, their great rookie receiver. He said it's a tough break for him. He lives in Texas because I'm going to be showing up at his house. So we're going to work to try and make him one of the best receivers in the league. I was writing for ESPN.com. I said this guy just won, the state championship and homecoming king, and he's thinking about his summer homework. Like that is cool if you're a Chiefs fan. Like you can be excited about that.
And he does it with so much joy too. And I think that's the thing that stands out to me is it's always a grind. It feels like for some of these guys, like for the Patriots, we always understood you're going to win, but it ain't going to be fun until the confetti starts dropping. And the same thing with Jordan. Jordan was in tears on the Last Dance documentary because he wanted it so bad. For some reason, it feels like they have a better chance of pulling it off because it does not seem like it's going to wear them down. It feels like they're enjoying each other's company and they're enjoying doing the work.
I think a lot of that comes from the head coach. I think he sets that tone, and you can tell when he went. Maybe it's because it took him so long to win one, but the appreciation he has for standing there with that trophy when it's over.
Here's what I can tell you, and Jeff, you won Super Bowls, and so you understand a little bit about it. I was around Jordan and those Bulls teams when they won. The first championship, I've never been in a room filled with more unbridled joy. And many people will remember the image of Jordan sitting there with his dad on one side, crying with the Larry O'Brien trophy. The second one, and then especially the third one, those were celebrations of relief. I think there was a genuine feeling in that locker room. They were just as happy it was over. They were relieved they had done it as they were happy. And in fact, the strain of it was so strong, Michael Jordan retired after that first three-peat at the age of 29. So that's how much pressure comes in, and yet the Mahomes of it feels different.
Yeah, I think it's the weight of expectations, right? Like when you're talking about Michael Jordan, it was expected that they were going to come back and win this thing again and come back and win it again. With the Chiefs, to your point, Graz, is they just got taken to overtime, right? Like they had to go. I mean, this was not an easy trek, right? They had to go beat Baltimore at home. They had to beat Buffalo at their place. They had to beat. So all the teams, it's San Fran, right? They had to beat all these really good teams through the playoffs, through this run. They understand how difficult, but the expectation is take it as it comes, man. You're going to have to take each game as it comes. And I do think that's where Mahomes is different. And I get from Andy Reid, like the way that he coaches it, but the way that Mahomes owns the pressure, to me, allows everybody else in that building to play to their level because he understands he'll take it. And he's big enough, got big enough shoulders, I'll take it all. Even we talk about all the time, the throw to MVS that he misses, I'm going to throw it a yard shorter and then does it. The fourth down, when he could have thrown it, I'm not going to let somebody else win. I'm going to go make this play. I think that, to me, is where he separates himself because when you see that guy do it, you want to go play for him.
So that pressure and other things led Jordan to taking that break to go play baseball. I think everybody in the NFL is hoping that Patrick Mahomes gets tired of winning championships and go get like his daddy and start pitching on something because there's nothing scarier than Patrick Mahomes on a mission. And they are using this as fuel as everybody needs something to motivate him. He's already talking about they don't believe in us. We should never be underdogs, but we are.
And make sure Patrick knows. My bet's already in, baby. I parlayed that thing in. Hey, on ESPN, it was that night. Let's roll this thing back, boys. Let's go make that cash.
All right, that said, I think a reasonable argument could be made that the second most important player on that team, there is a real possibility that player is not back.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is clearly the most important player on that team. And with all due respect to Travis Kelce, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer and maybe the best pass-catching tight end of all time, the second most important player on that team might play on their defense.
Yeah, that's Chris Jones, the defensive tackle, who had a 21% pass rush win rate in the Super Bowl. That's a ludicrously high number. I mean, he wrecked the game. And I think, this is a player that the Chiefs a year ago thought they would be able to get extended the last offseason. They were not. They ended up coming to some sort of arrangement on a 1 year where he came back. It's going to cost them, if they wanted to franchise tag him again, $32 million. L'Jarius Sneed's going to be a very difficult guy for them to keep. He's going to want top-of-the-market cornerback money. He's going to deserve top-of-the-market cornerback money. And if they have to spend big to keep Chris Jones, they may not be able to keep both of them.
I think it's important to really highlight how important Chris Jones is because we talk about how good this defense is. And on the offensive side, we see a quarterback that can save bad plays.
Yes.
And Patrick Mahomes if no one's open, he's able to turn it into a big play. The same thing happens on the defensive side of the ball, but because they don't end in touchdowns, they end in incomplete passes. Yeah. We don't celebrate as much, but Chris Jones saves bad plays. The defense is very different if Chris Jones doesn't win a quarter of the time and they score touchdowns. There's a couple times in a game on Sunday where Chris Jones saved their defense when people made mistakes.
From different spots, too. They can move him outside and rush on the edge if they need the help. He
loves that outside.
Well, he loves that outside. That play on third down in overtime, the one you're seeing on your screen right now, is the reason San Francisco settles for a field goal, is the reason that Kansas City's touchdown wins the game. I know the Niners didn't know that because they don't know the overtime rules in San Francisco, but that actually was what happened. A touchdown would not have ended the game, but it would have put a whole different level of pressure on KC.
And there was a play where Deebo Samuel is open, but Chris Jones, again, pressures Purdy where he can't put the ball where it's supposed to be. To your point about Chris Jones, though, the difference between he and most D linemen, he can go anywhere on the field. He's big enough to lock down if he needs to, but he is a super smart defensive tackle. He sees flow, he'll stop. He does things that are unnatural to most players that play that position. That's why he can demand the type of money he's demanding.
Right, which is something in the neighborhood of what Aaron Donald makes. And if there's another player in the league that is anywhere near Aaron Donald,
there are the numbers on your screen right there.
Right.
Yes. I mean, that's the number we're talking about.
If they do nothing, if they franchise him, he's going to get more than Aaron. So
you look at these games, again, I hate to harp on this same point, but I think it's really important that the same way Patrick Mahomes waits for the key moments and then pulls out the plays, Chris Jones, I don't know if he's pacing, I can't say he's pacing himself because he has impact all game, but it always seems like in big playoff games, the same way we see Patrick Mahomes scramble for first down, it's always Chris Jones that's in the backfield with his hands on the quarterback.
He made the play that beat Buffalo. He made the play that beat San Francisco.
Here's the thing. They've been drafting corners, right? If they have to let L'Jarius Sneed go, that'll hurt, but they have guys that they can. There's nobody they can put in. They are going to have to overhaul their entire defensive front and their strategy if they lose Chris Jones.
You better pay L'Jarius.
Let's say this about the defense too. This offense was 15th in the NFL this year. They won this. They get to the Super Bowl because of their defense. That defense was what separated them this season. As good as Mahomes is, but that defense, you better keep that thing together because that got it done this season.
All right, we are back on Get Up, and you know, all this attention on Travis Kelce and his relationship with Taylor Swift, but this is his brother at the celebration.
There was nothing in the system to allow him to move that way, for sure. That is just all natural right there. What is he doing? What is the move? I mean, man, he got a little this in.
He's really leaning into
the pancake segment. He was
leaning into the belly. Like he's really working the belly. Hey, look at that.
I love it.
Focus on your assets, baby. Show them what you got.
Life.
He's wearing overalls and a luchador mask,
Yes.
and that's a heck of a combination. All right, let's play a game at Super Bowl edition, if we can, of awesome, awful, or awkward, because that one was all three at once. Jeff, give us something awesome that you saw.
Oh, Creed Humphrey taking Fred Warner to the sideline, through the sideline, and finishing him. Receive it. Throw him into his teammate and then stand over him. Let the whole sideline be mad.
Threw him into the coach.
I love it. There's
Watch
nothing
out,
better.
Steve.
There's
Watch
nothing
out,
better.
Steve.
Oh, just domination.
The center with a good day.
Yes.
A lot of low snaps, I thought, Jeff,
Watch
but
yourself.
it's a good blocking
We don't
there.
talk about that part.
Dominique, give us something awful from the
Sorry
Super
to
Bowl.
drain the fun from the situation, but Dre Greenlaw injuring himself. He was playing so well. He's such an important part to that defense, the physicality that he brings, the aggression, intensity, intelligence he brings to the team. They lost that. It really hurt them going forward. But that's just such a bad way to go down, too, in a situation where he's not even participating in the game. He's just trying to get out there.
Just running out onto the field toward his Achilles. It's horrendous. Graziano, how about something awkward?
I thought it was pretty awkward after the game, the 49ers players saying they didn't know the rules of overtime. It would have been real awkward if they'd scored a touchdown here because like they might have run onto the field celebrating like they won the Super Bowl, and they hadn't. But I thought that created an interesting situation for the coach, Kyle Shanahan, because the Chiefs players were giving you chapter and verse. Oh, we were told for 2 weeks if we did this, we were going to do this. If we did this. So the contrast, I thought, was a little bit awkward.
Listen, not enough is being made of this, okay? I'm not suggesting it did or didn't decide the Super Bowl. In fact, it almost certainly didn't. However, if a Dallas Cowboys team coached by Mike McCarthy came out after their game and said, we didn't know the rule, we would have Mike McCarthy arrested, not fired. We'd be calling the police. And if that happened on practically any other team, look, Kyle Shanahan is an outstanding coach. What he has done there it speaks for itself. His record speaks for itself. But there's a lot of in-game stuff that is there to be questioned. The lack of the use of timeouts at the end of the first half was a terrible miss. I mean, inexcusable. And then how is it possible, Dominique, that you have players on your own team that said, this is a rule that's been in place for 2 years. How is it possible they don't know the rule?
It's embarrassing and disappointing. However, there's a difference between Kyle Shanahan and Mike McCarthy. So the things that Kyle Shanahan brings to it allows you to excuse some of these other issues. This right here, as we agreed, we probably don't think it affects this game that much. It's embarrassing. Like, we got to teach these players how to lie. Don't throw me under the bus. You're like, man, we're just playing hard to see what happens in this situation. I don't think it changed the outcome of the game, but I do think it's something that they now learn from. And in their defense, the Chiefs are always here. All the other things that Kyle Shanahan had to prepare this team for,
that's right.
The Chiefs didn't have to. They've already talked about how long halftimes take. They've already experienced all the hoopla. This young team is
But
not
this is a rule in every playoff game, so it's not just the Super Bowl. This could have happened to them in any of their playoff games this year.
It's the 58th Super Bowl, and it happened only one other time. So I'm not defending him, but I'm saying
This could have happened to them the week before against. It could have happened against Green Bay. It could have happened against Detroit. It is an overtime rule in the playoffs, not just the Super Bowl.
And they've played 6 playoff games the last 2 years, so that it could have come into play in any one of those. To me, it's a difference in coaching style. Like Andy Reid felt it was important for his players to be invested in the decisions, so that they knew if we go out there for the coin toss and we win the coin toss, we're kicking. And if we get the ball second and the other team has 7 points, we score a touchdown, we're going for 2. All that stuff. Like Chris Jones was like, it was drilled into us for 2 weeks. Kyle Shanahan may have made the decision that, like, I don't got to waste my players' time with this. They're not going to play any different. Like, they're going to try and score a touchdown no matter what, so we can figure that out when the time
Jeff,
I get it, but I just think it's...
How does word not reach you of this? This was a rule change.
I agree with that.
It was in all the papers.
Yeah.
Also, the officials said it right at the coin toss of overtime. Like, it was all very
And look, I mean, at the end of the day, Kyle, I'm not suggesting the coach didn't know the rule.
Yeah.
But taking the ball first is an unimaginably bad decision. And that does cost their team the Super Bowl. It changes everything. You gave Patrick Mahomes 4 downs on every single series. You let them dictate how this game was going to go. In college football, when the overtime begins, no one ever takes the ball first.
Right.
There's a reason for that. And this is very much the same.
You heard that they said that they did analytical research. They figured out what they were going to do. He knew what his plan was when he went in. He went with it, and it didn't work out for him, right? He felt like we wanted the ball third if that happens. So however he goes from there, that was his decision. He made a sound decision in his mind of what he was going to go do. My only issue with the call was that didn't seem to coincide with the 3rd and 4th down calls that he made, right? Like if you were going to do that, then I would have thought it's touchdown or bust. They may win on a field goal, but they're going to drive it 65 yards from the 3-yard line or 9-yard line, whatever it was at that point. But we're going to go all in, because then at least you're saying we're scoring a touchdown. We're going to make them go do it. So if you're going to have that, I think that's what didn't fit for me. Was if you're going to play it that way, I would have thought you.
I wouldn't call it unimaginably bad. I feel like it's a marginal decision, but that's where I agree with Jeff, is because what you're playing for at that point, once you kick the field goal, is you're hoping that you tie it and that you have them backed up and force them to get a field goal. So let's skip all the BS. Go for it on 4th down, and then you end up in the exact same situation that you're hoping for by kicking the field goal.
But you don't have to hope. If you don't take the ball first, you don't have to hope. You know. You know exactly what your circumstances are.
And that's why I would have done it. And calling around to people around the league who work in the analytics end of it, a lot of them said, they would have kicked, but they don't think there's no numbers that show it's a clear-cut decision.
It's never happened before. There are no numbers that can possibly be relevant. This was the first game in which this. I tell you what, no one will ever do it again.
Let me just say this. The issue for I think for me is. This is the least consequential of all the mistakes that the 49ers made to lose this game.